I see your demons, I'm telling them it's on sight. I'm just playing, I don't fight, I do pray. I only go the way of Mr. Yahweh. Try to correct me, but I'm stuck in my old ways. And that way he don't play, like no way. So I gotta get.
And I'm not into hunting or anything, but what was so unique about Cameron Haynes is he caught everyone's attention because he worked like at the local city water plant in some small town in Oregon for 20 years, never missed a day of work, an unscheduled day of work, never called in sick. He was getting these like crazy bow hunting kills that people don't get, that like wasn't a superstar or sponsored by Under Armour or anything. And everyone's like, how the hell is he doing it? Just to come to find out, he runs a marathon every single day. Like 365. Wakes up at 2 a.m, no matter the weather, and he'll run a freaking marathon like before work, or he'll split it up in, because a marathon's 26 miles.
26 too.
Yeah. So he might run 13 miles in the morning, 8 miles at his lunch break, and then finish it off after work. So, but either way, he was clocking those miles, and he was like, I'm the best bow hunter in the world because of my endurance. And so people became obsessed with his discipline. And once they saw his discipline, he kind of became the social media star on accident. But then he became this hunting star, and then like David Goggins started like hanging out with him, and him and David Goggins started like, and he went to 100-mile runs and just kept pushing himself. And he wrote this book called Endure. And it is so freaking good, man. And it's all about training your mindset for the moment. Because when you're ready to kill an elk, I guess, especially with a bow, there's like a 10% chance you're going to do it. And it all happens in a 30-second window. But you could go on a 45-mile crazy, dangerous hike for this 30-second window. But he's like, I realized in those moments of kills that's what I get credit for. That's what the entire world sees. But it's the 364 days leading up to that. Yeah. That actually, that 30 seconds came to be successful. So like,
yeah, that's crazy. I imagine too, like if he's like tracking the elks down and for hours and you know, that's how he gets that advantage. I read this one thing when I was reading a lot about marathons, is that's human beings. That's one of our advantage over every other animal out there is our endurance. And they were saying that, you
never would think.
Well, no, it's funny when you think about that, because they did. I forgot what marathon it was. I think it was in Ireland or something, where they said, okay, we're gonna race marathon, marathon race, but we're gonna put a horse in the race, like a literal horse, and a guy riding a horse. And the horse would just dominate over like the first 5 or 10 miles, but at the end of the race, the humans would always win.
What?
Because the horse didn't have the endurance to go that far, and that's they're saying, like a lot, whether it be elk or bison or whatever it might be. That if you imagine the hunting years and years ago, where you got to hunt for your dinner every single day, it was like, hey, we're gonna go track this animal for the next 4 or 5 hours and just wear it out, where it's just so tired that we catch up, and then at that point, it makes hunting a lot easier. So
that's wild.
It was an interesting article that I read about that.
Why do you feel like humans can endure more like that, though? Is it because we also have the power to like not manifest, but the power to see the end, to start with the end in mind? Like, is that part of why we would outrun a horse at the end?
I think genetically
we're not fitter. Are we?
Well, I think genetically we're just built for longer distances, and in today's world nobody ever uses it. It's like imagine your superpower that you never use. So
yeah,
like we're born with that superpower.
Yeah, like that's exactly right.
That's great. Now, okay, all right.
Well, think about that, because you were 48 years old and you never ran more than 6 miles, and then I'm looking at this right here: 6 marathons and a 60-mile ultra marathon in 1 year.
Wait, how old were you then?
I was 48.
What, dude? Like what? A lot of people that I know that turn 48, they're like, well, this is it, boys.
Yeah, it's all downhill.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? You're halfway. Like, I think you're the one that told me, actually, it stuck with me. You're like, I'm barely like halfway through my life.
Yeah.
When it was 3-4 years ago when we were talking, you were like, yeah, I'm just getting started. And I was like, what the? And that's what I enjoyed a lot about hanging out with you guys, because I was like, you guys were older than me, but then you guys were like, had more drive than me. I was like, you guys have really big dreams in such little short span of time too. You're right. I think that is a superpower, and I don't think we use it enough. I think this society is a little, I don't know, man. What do you think of this society right now?
Well, I mean, it's gone weak, right? But you know, if you run a business, if you're trying to compete out there, it makes it easier for you to compete, right? Because half the population is playing at such a low level right now. You know,
I think about that often, actually, like, well, raising kids. I have 2 boys, 6 and 3, and they'll go through something, some trial or tribulation, and I know it's good for them, even if it might suck for them in that moment. And I tell my wife all the time, like, or I'll hear something about whatever society's doing, and I'm like, that's why our boys are going to win, because we're building this stamina, endurance, and mindset.
yeah, take them down the hard path, you know, and it in their perspective, man, why does my life have to suck? You know, you always make it hard, but that's how you create good times.
What did you do before, or if we move on from this topic, when in 2019 when your kids saw you doing this, what?
How old were your kids?
Oh, that was, yeah. I mean, it must have been like 8 and 10.
So yeah, they knew what Dad was doing to a point. Like,
yeah, we'd take them out to the marathon races, and you know, we'd travel, you know, to San Diego or go to Las Vegas, around Vegas Marathon, LA Marathon. So
what type of?
I want to say something real quick before I forget, because we're gonna go down the marathon path. So, this is such a cool memory for me. I don't know if he remembers it still, but your son was interested in being a DJ. I don't want to touch on this too much, so that's what I want to talk about. He wanted to be a DJ, and that was the first time I ever felt like I could help Alan, because as you could tell by Exhibit A, very smart. I don't have anything to offer really, outside of a good time and a good breakfast. I like paying for breakfast because I was like, this is the only time but I remember you told me that your son was interested in being a DJ and the board game.
yeah,
I remember of like almost like live, but with a DJ. And I connected him with my friend George, which I was just with George in Hawaii.
Yeah, we went out there and saw George.
And they went out, bro. I get a random picture. I'm like, here's a DJ that I know. He even calls himself the backpack DJ. Used to be a music teacher. Like, if there's a teacher, this guy's good. And the next thing I know, I get a picture from Alan. He's like, and they're at George's loft DJing. And I'm like, what the hell? And his son is DJing. He just went to go support. And I just found that very cool because, again, we talk, you want to really do cool shit. Like, your kid wanted to did create a board game. And he wanted to be a DJ. And instead of you going, no, you should stay, I don't know, to focus on school. You're like, yeah, focus on school, but let's go do cool shit too. You want to learn how to be a DJ? Let's hang out with a DJ and let's see if you really, really like it.
Yeah.
See if you're passionate about it. I found that very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. But that speaks volumes to you. So, anyways, back to the
No. It goes back to
it
goes back to what he said earlier. I wrote this quote down. He said, "You got to put in time. There's no substitute for it." So, like, even like with your son, hey, you want to be a DJ? We're gonna fly to go meet this random guy George, and you're gonna put in the time and do it. So,
find out what it's like to have a DJ business, right?
Yeah, I'm just curious. So, like, whether it's business, whether it's marathon training and running, like, what example do you think that's been setting for your kids?
Oh, it's got to be positive. I mean, my kids, I think the world of me, you know, and I think that's what part of life is, right? How do we inspire others?
And are you building this for them?
There's certainly a driving factor, but you know, everything I do in my life is really, in some ways, selfish. You know, it's like I don't want to live a life of regrets. And it's just who I am and what I do. And I think if I live to that being the best version of myself, if that becomes one of my major motivating goals and belief system in my life, then I think a lot of people are going to benefit from that, you know. And that's why I like stuff like this. You know, I've been on a number of podcasts. I help a lot of small businesses. And I don't charge anything for that. You know, I give my time, give my energy, because I feel like, to me, that's highly fulfilling. It's you know, who I've become. You know, how do I serve the world in a better way? And so that's ultimately what, you know, I'm about. You know, you say, yeah, it's great to build the fastest growing company in the United States, but you know, what's my underlying why? Why do I do that?
And it's just to live a life of no regret.
Yeah,
Is that the main-
and inspiration to others, you know, and to myself. You know, that's why I use my former self in 2019 as like, oh my God, that guy was fucking awesome. You know, he's an inspiration to me today. That level of mindset, you know, to be able to run that much while you're working, you know, 70-hour weeks, you know, it's.
Does that mean that you want to actually go back and run marathons like you used to, or that just means like, cool, I did it, I get to put that in, like David Goggins, I think, calls it the cookie jar, like things that you can pull out and you're like,
Well,
oh,
I think
I did that.
you know, running a marathon. You know, I did a couple years ago. I'm going to do one this year, so I mean, it's not that difficult. But that level of dedication where you're doing that many, and especially the ultras, is like a, you know, going from not running at all to a half marathon is a massive jump. You know, from a half marathon to a full marathon is another jump. But going from a full marathon to an ultra, I thought would be just a little incremental thing, but no, it's
How long
it's
did
a
it take
whole
you?
different level.
How long did it take
It
you?
was like 14 hours.
What?
Yeah.
That's like literally the drive from Arizona to Denver.
So you want to hear the crazy thing is that I was on, like, it was a multi-day race with multiple races, a circuit. So it was a 1 mile loop. And so they had multiple different types of races going on at the same time. And the race I was in was like the baby race.
Really?
And they had
What the?
like, imagine 24-hour race, 48-hour race, 72-hour race. They had a 6-day and a 10-day race.
Like how?
Yeah, it's
How?
it's crazy, you know, and
And they're running every day for 6 days.
yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
they look
They put up tents and you sleep for like 4 hours. They had a place where you can go shower, and then they had food.
What?
But
Why haven't we done anything like that?
it's like the level of like I, you know, it's like you guys are you know, like, man, who was that guy back then? Because that dude was amazing. I could never be like that. And it's like, I was nothing compared to those other people, you know, that were running. And, you know, it's like, I'm done after 14 hours. You know, I go home, I shower, you know, I take a day off. I go, I'm back at work 2 days later.
And they're still running?
And they're still running.
Whoa, dude, that's crazy.
And they're, you know, but what was really neat is because it was a circuit, you know, eventually, and there was only, I think, 300 people in all the different races combined. Eventually you get to meet everybody because at some point you're walking or jogging next to them. And so you start getting to know these people. And I had met, like, there was probably 6 or 7 people that had run the Badwater, you know, 135, which is one of the most difficult races.
Exactly. Right.
I met 7 people that day that had run
insane.
that, you know. It's like and that's the thing that I love about the ultra world is that, you know, if imagine this, if I'm in the basketball, like, man, I love basketball. I love, you know, I got a pickup game I do every weekend or whatever it might be. Like, but if I love basketball so much, I want to play with the best people in the world. I can't, you know, hey, LeBron James, let's go shoot some basket. You know, I'm a nobody in that world. But in the ultra world, like, if you want to run with some of the best ultra marathons, just sign for an ultra, because there's always some of the best people on the entire planet that you're running beside, you know. And I had met some just incredible people out there. And that race that I was in, I still remember there was a lady from Australia that flew in to run that race. She was in a 10-day race, and her name, I think, was Annabelle Hempworth. And she ended up running more miles than anybody. She did almost 800 miles in 10 days.
After a 20-hour flight.
Yeah, if you can imagine that.
What?
So
Yeah, dude.
Wait,
and about 80 miles a day.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
80 miles. What's
for
her
10 days.
name?
Annabelle Hempworth.
Dude, and that's why I
What,
that's why I
dude?
went down this rabbit hole with endurance athletes and runners, because you're right, you could like be in an ultra that you just sign up for and fly out to San Diego for or whatever, and then you're next to Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, so since you were part of that community for like a year, well, you are part of that community still, but really in it in 2019, did you see any, like, do you know, was there any commonalities like with like endurance running and maybe like the success that these people had. And
He wants to know if you met Jesse Itzler.
And Jesse Itzler. Yeah. No, like, but were there commonalities? Like, were these people top performers outside of the ultra world?
You know, what I always say about success transcends everything. And so there, a lot of times when you're successful at one thing, you can be very successful at another. Yeah. I would say this, though, and if you want to be at the top of your game in the ultra world, that is your success, you know, and you become, that's your obsession. And when you have an obsession at that high level, that's what you're good at. And look, okay, you can take a lot of what you've learned there and you can apply it in a business world, but if you're not putting in the time, it's still not going to be there. And that's where you always have conflicting priorities in life, you know. It's like, and that's what I say is like, you know, I look back at that guy at 2019, you know, who was I? And the reality is like during the week, I was half-assing a lot of those trainings. You know, I wasn't really putting in at the top level of what I should have been doing. And I'm not a fast marathon runner by any means. You know, I'll finish up, you know, a marathon in 5 hours. But I didn't have enough time to have that be my number one focus and have my business to be my number one focus. So ultimately you got to pick a direction of like, what do you want to be the best at and what you're trying to accomplish? And that's where, you know, yeah, success transcends everything. I believe in that. But there's almost like, if you want to really be the best at what you do, you really only have one spot for that, you know, that thing that you want to be really damn good at, because everything else does have to come.
Hard.
It is hard because sometimes, you know, other things in your life suffer because of that. You know, I'm all in on this, and then I can't.
So when you knew you were about to take on, I mean, fastest growing company in the U.S., I'm gonna do this. Like I remember your commitment was crazy. Like I was looking at it and I'm like, damn, this guy's on. Like you're obsessed in a great way. I think obsession is good.
It's not only good; it's a requirement if you want to if you want to be the best at what you're doing. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, well, now I'm just questioning what do I want to be the best at? What am I obsessed with? And I don't know if I have the answer in the top of my head right now.
It's a really hard question to ask,
which is crazy.
That's because I would say that your vision isn't strong enough. So you got to start with a vision. If you create a compelling enough vision
of myself or of the business or
whatever you want to achieve. It doesn't have to be.
Can
about
you be
business.
The best in multiple things? So let me.
I think it's hard to be the best at what you do in multiple avenues because
of who you are and what you do. Are those two different, or do they all go into the same?
Well,
that's where I'm struggling right now. By the way, mentally, like right now as we're talking about this, I'm like in my for example, if we want to be the best podcast in our industry or the best podcast media company event I can get obsessed with that, and I am pretty obsessed with that. That's why we're here today. We don't even live in Arizona. And that's why like, okay, step 1, step 2. But then I'm like, if that's where my time goes, can I be the best in my faith? Can I be the best in of my future marriage? Can I be the best? Can I have that? Or do they have to take a sacrifice?
I think you're going to have to sacrifice something. And that's one of the challenges a lot of us have, you know, is that, you know, I can't give as much time to my business because I need to be a better father or a better husband, or I need to work on this other thing in my life, you know, and then your business will suffer because of that. And so,
what kind of conversations have you had with your wife to let her know, or did she know that before marrying you? Like, damn, this guy is.
Yeah, she kind of knew that about me before we got married, but you know, one of the things that really has helped out my home life is that when we had the ability to, you know, not have her work and then she just could take care of everything. And so, I always say that like her job is to make my life easy as possible. So I don't have to deal with any of the stuff that goes on at the house because I don't have time for it. Or, you know, she spends a lot more, you know, and, you know, I do what I can to raise my kids, but I give her 100% credit for, you know, having awesome kids. You know, she spends all the time on it. And so, we're able to look at life and to tackle priorities. You know, what am I good at? Where should my focus and obsession be? And what is she good at? What should her focus and obsession? I think, and that's why I think when you find the right partner and things like that you can accomplish both things as a couple, as a group. And you can do that in business too. You know.
Well, what's her obsession? Do you know?
Family. Yeah, without a doubt.
So that's why when she makes her decisions, or when you're out working late, but your project, like, your wealth has to have multiplied the way you've set up the family. So for her, that's very important that you go do that, because her obsession is providing as well, right? Like making sure that if my kid wants to go on a field trip, I'm not like, oh shit, do we have the money?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
oh no, can I buy him clothes? Can I? Now it's like, let me provide the best experience I can for my kids and raise them. And very interesting.
Providing resources for her makes her job easy, just like she makes my life easy. So it's a good partnership.
Yeah, we have a good.
Such a hard conversation, though.
No,
Like, that makes sense, though. That makes sense.
It's always like on my mind, right? So like we have a good friend, Rocky Garza's his name. He doesn't call it work-life balance. He calls it work-life contention. And he believes 50-50 is always bullshit. And I really like this mentality. He's like, something's always being sacrificed. Like you said, sometimes you have to be a better father. Your business gets sacrificed, and vice versa. Sometimes your business needs more attention. Family dynamics get sacrificed. He's like, so we're always trying to play this balancing game, but really what we need to learn how to balance is the contention, and realizing and accepting that, like, it's going to be 70-30 maybe this month, or 30-70 the next month, and being able to balance that act versus trying to make it 50-50. And I think, like, when he said that, it just like clicked to me, because everyone talks about work-life balance and what do you believe, what do you don't believe, pick a side, don't pick a side. Can we make it 50-50? And he's like, nothing in life is 50-50.
Yeah.
Our business partnership's not 50-50. It might be legally or whatever on paper, if that were to be the case, but like sometimes he does more. Often he does more, or then there will be moments that I need to do more. And then same thing with the marriage.
But I wonder if that's the comment that we're making here. You're talking about contention, but I think, like, what's, like, for example, how can we all give 100% all the time instead of 50-50? I think that's kind of what you're alluding to, which is very interesting, which is like, she's giving 100%. Sorry, she's giving 100% in the family. Like, that is her role. You know for a fact, you're like, I'm not giving 100% to family, because that's not my role and my focus. But I'm also not gonna go ask her, hey babe, how the bills looking? It looks like we might not make payments. Is there anything you can do to help? No, because he's giving 100% on that part, right? Yeah. Like, is that kind of what you were alluding to on how you guys have your separate obsessions on it? Doesn't mean you guys don't share work. Just to be clear here, it doesn't mean you guys don't do things together. And in specific things, you guys do have to go 50-50, 70-30, do the contention. But in your particular obsession,
I would say this. I think, again, it goes back to what are you really trying to achieve in life? And I think if you want to achieve greatness, you have to have one obsession. And a lot of other stuff is going to have to take a back seat to that. And so, to your point, it's like, okay, and that's kind of
makes sense.
Look, if I want to be obsessed about business, which I have been for most of my life, but I also want a good family. To me, it's going to be easier to achieve what I want to achieve by being 100% focused on that business, and then finding a partner that can focus 100% on the family, and then I'll get what I want in both buckets. Versus trying to say, okay, I'm going to not give as much time in my business every week because I'm going to spend more time with my kids, or vice versa. Try to balance. You can certainly balance, but can you balance and become the best at what you do? I don't think you can.
Well, now that you're saying it out loud, I am thinking of families that like run almost like 50-50 on everything, and they have a good life. I'm not going to say they don't have a good life, but you're right. The difference of this statement is the best. At the highest level, that's different. Because now I'm thinking of all the people that we know that run at the highest level, like high level, even in the industry, in this particular industry. Great parents, great dads. I'm thinking of two people, great dads. But they have a partner that is 100% with the family, and they know, like, I'm coming in at 6 in the morning, I'm getting out at 10 p.m. I'm coming in at 6. But when we do take vacations, I'm not distracted. But in the everyday, I got one job, and that's to create a legacy. And I always look at them, and I'm like, do I want that? Is that what I want? But that makes sense. It's because they're trying to be the best. They're not trying to be okay. Very interesting. I'm having over here like little epiphanies in my life. I'm like, so that means my next partner, if I'm really trying to be the best in business, has to want to be 100% in the family. If that's something that I want and that we want. That's very interesting.
And you're right. And it is hard for a lot of people to kind of live at that level. But, when you go do the research on people who are the best at what they do in whatever category, and you're going to find the same thing. It's like, man, they got a ridiculous level of obsession, and that was, one of my favorite books is by Tim Grover called Relentless. Yeah. And it's really the story of how, he was Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant's trainer. And it's really about that story of, that relentless mindset that it takes to be at the top of your game. And the book is really, it's about basketball, of course, but it's really about the mindset of what it takes to be the best in the world at what you do. Yeah. And that was one of the key things. That's why that book resonated with me so well, is because, that's what I want. I want that kind of crazy, ridiculous life, but it requires
some sacrifice.
Yeah, a lot of sacrifices, but it requires you to live, at a different level, and it's a different way of thinking too.
One thing that you're saying is sacrifice, and a lot of people I think that are listening to this, and I used to do that, confuse sacrifice and suffering. They automatically assume that if you have to sacrifice spending time with your kids, that there's suffering everywhere, like both you and them. Or that if I sacrifice my health, that there's going to be suffering. But sacrifice is just part of the role, right?
I would say, I'd use in the term sacrifice as being comfort, is that you're sacrificing comfort in your life. And that's the way I would look at it, is that, so many of us, we move towards comfort. And when you do that, when you make your life about living in comfort, and that becomes your mission, then you're going to eventually end up weak that way. And then weak people lead to bad times. And so rather than moving towards comfort, move towards the uncomfortable, get outside your comfort zone, do something uncomfortable every day. That's, you've probably seen some of those trends of how people are doing the cold plunges and stuff like that. Well, yeah, I think there's some proven health benefits from it, but it's really more of a mental game. How do you get yourself to do something that you don't want to do? Because if you've ever tried to dunk yourself in, 40-degree ice bath, it is freaking hard.
Have you done it?
Totally. Yeah, I have.
I love it. It sucks though.
But it does. Every single time it sucks.
And then when I'm in front of it, I'm like, oh, here we go.
It never gets easier.
But it's things like that when you start to master that, again, how do you get yourself to do the things you should be doing, but you don't want to do? How do you get yourself to go to the gym every day? How do you get yourself to eat healthy every day? Just some of the stuff that is just so basic, but that's what life is about. It's like, hey, we want the comfort, right? I don't want to go to the gym. I want to eat like shit. That's the easy thing. Yeah. And so many of us move towards that thing of comfort. But what does that lead to? That leads to being obese, leads to health issues, leads to shitty life. So, running towards comfort will lead to a hard life. Run towards discomfort, it's hard, but that's how you get the quality life. And the quality of life being, I can go achieve all kinds of cool shit. I can have the finances. I can have the girl of my dreams or whatever it might be. I can manifest all kinds of cool shit because I can do hard things. Yeah. And when you do hard things all the time, it makes the daily stuff that comes by super easy to do.
So actually, our boy Tony Robbins says it. You can live with temporary pain or live with permanent regret. And I think actually this morning, we didn't get. We've been like running on fumes, especially Angel traveling, and we have this commitment. Hey, let's wake up early and work out. Right? We both did not want to wake up early, and to me,
did not want to wake up.
And to me, it wasn't even like about like, oh, I have to go lift weights and heavy things. It's like, no, I just want more sleep. And when we finally got in there and did it, I could tell we were still both checked out. Whatever was a light workout, but even like that was better than like sleeping that extra 45 minutes. And like right now, knowing we didn't do what we knew we should have done.
Yeah.
So
if I would have showed up here not working out, I would have hated this conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
I would have been like, "Why are you attacking me, Alan?"
and that's what the crazy thing is that your workout probably wasn't 100% of what it should have
Not
been.
even close.
100% no.
But you know what? It's like, just as like, I believe everything in life is, it's 80% mental. And the fact that you showed up, that's where the value was.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like, it didn't really matter how good or bad your workout was, but the fact that you showed up, that's where the value is.
Totally.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah, because now I know I can wake up tomorrow. I worked up the last 4 days at 5 in the morning to 5:30 in the morning to work out. I'm like, I can do it tomorrow because I'm gonna travel again, and I know I'm gonna sleep late again today. And it's like, well, I can do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next. And it's
The thing is that you keep doing that, and then after a year or two, you look back and like, damn, I got my shit together, man. I can,
It's the compound effect.
yeah, and that's where it's like you can be very proud of yourself.
I think that's something I seek. Just proud of myself. Me being proud of me.
100%.
And that's where,
But that's egotistical.
well, somebody said, what's the purpose in life? I've had people ask me that question, what's life all about? And I believe life is about becoming the best version of yourself. And as long as you're progressing towards that, you're going to be happy. Progress equals happiness. If you're not progressing towards being the best version of yourself, you tend to probably be miserable.
Look at you, man.
They now that you say that, my sister, so she's a nun, and so I always like to bring her up because it's like some people don't understand what she's doing. But now that I hear you talk about she says some people are what is the saying? Some people are interested, some people are committed.
You're either interested or you're committed.
Yeah, committed. And then she's like, "There's one more," and I was like, "Okay." She just dropped some random wisdom. She's like, "Then there's full devotion." And she's like, so when you're full devotion, nothing else matters except your devotion. So they died to themselves completely. And I find that interesting because I'm like, if she wants to be a great nun, or in their case, if they want to reach sainthood, they want to become saints. Yeah. Imagine everything else that they have to sacrifice and what they have to laser focus. And now that's why when you talk to them, when I talk to her, I don't talk to her like my sister. I'm just looking up to her. I'm like, what the... How is she doing that? This is crazy. That makes sense.
And so as long as she's progressing on a daily basis to get her closer to her vision, she's happy. She's 100%. Making progress.
I love the 100%. Fact that you just said progress equals happiness. Again, I think I originally heard Tony Robbins say that because someone asked him such a general question, what brings happiness? And I immediately thought, I was like, what a stupid question to ask Tony Robbins, right? And he just delivered. He's like, easy. Progress. When you're moving, you're feeling like shit right now, get up and walk around. You feel better. And progress. And I was like, man, it's such a simple concept, just how movement, progress, even in the most incremental path forward creates that elevation of state.
How good do you think his impression was of Tony Robbins? That's the real question.
That was awful.
You think it was awful? What do you think? Yeah, it's pretty bad, huh? Yeah.
I just went for it though.
Hey, I was just staring. I was like, "Is that what it? Maybe
it was bad,
like a 3."
I would say 2, but.
Well, listen. I know we're coming up to the time here, Alan. Bro, I don't know how you're gonna make clips from this because there's too much. I'm surprised we haven't had these deep conversations. No, we have, but
a few times.
Yeah, I will say. In that time frame of my life when I was hanging out with you, there was a lot of shifts happening. That's when I was waking up now I'm reflecting, and that's when I was waking up at 4 a.m. to work out. That's when I found out I had type 2 diabetes. But the first thing I did, I was researching because you were get the data points, and I started researching, is this genetic? Is this not? Is this acquired? How do you reverse it? What are some case studies? And I would go on deep holes. And I was here in Arizona, I remember it. And then that's when I joined you in entrepreneurship, and I told you about that. And so it was very interesting. I just realized when someone's certain and so obsessed to what they're doing, it also impacts the people around them to the point where you were creating obsession within me and what I was doing. So it's kind of cool. Now I'm here. I'm taking notes. I don't even know where to take notes anymore.
Yeah, no, same.
But I'm what am I obsessed about? And I don't think I've asked myself that question in a very long time. So I'm excited to talk maybe in 2 years again when you're a billionaire. And we're hopefully scratching the surface, trying to be a little more like you. But no, hopefully in 2 years or in a year, we get to say, hey, man, this is what we did. So, Alan, How do people find you, or where can they follow some of it? Are you, well, not really.
Yeah, I don't really
that was
produce
dumb
a lot
question.
of content or anything like that, but
You just produce this fucking master
This
class.
master class
Yeah,
of
exactly.
strategy and mindset.
How
So,
can we support you? How can our audience support you? What do you need? Do you need a cleaning company in Dallas, by the way? If you need one, bro, we got some down
You hit
there.
me up,
Dog.
huh?
Oh yeah, we'll give you a discount.
Yeah.
If I say that out loud right here, you'll fucking, some people that can clean a manufacturing plant.
Yeah, I would just say this, if anybody
kidding.
listened to this is getting value out of it, and what I mean by value is not only learning if I've maybe taught you something today, but if you're applying that in your life and you've gotten really good results from that, just relay the information back to these guys, and I'd love to hear that story third hand. But that to me is, if I can inspire anybody out there to be a better version of themselves, or have a better version of their business, that would make me feel happy.
Man.
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, brother. Really appreciate you. Any last words for anybody listening? Maybe they skip to the end and they're like, yeah, I'm too lazy to.
Yeah, I guess the only thing is, I just challenge you, whatever you've been doing in your life, you've probably been thinking too small. And then, the question would be, okay, where do I need to be? And that's where you start building that strategy of like, okay, do I have a big enough understanding of what I need to know for my business, of where I want to go? And then last is, then do I have the skill set in order to get there? And maybe I do need to go read 30 books before, I'm actually able to pull that thing off, or 50 books, or go on a learning quest for who knows how long. But, to me, that's what it's about. Start with a big, big, big vision that inspires you and inspires other people around you. It'll make your life so much easier. And then when you start with that big vision, then, put together the strategy. And then if you don't have the knowledge for that, then you can go out and learn it.
Yo, I promise you that if you listen to this podcast episode, you're definitely going to walk in with the thirst to want to go fulfill that vision, or to even find that vision and get the right strategy and the right steps to execute it. Once again, Alan, thank you so much for being here. James, always a pleasure to co-host. I need to re-listen to this because I think this is going to be life-changing for me. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next one.